work on finding the volume of a prism and a cylinder. On Friday, you'll find the volume of a pyramid and a cone. So let's recap. 2 days ago, we found the surface area of a prism and a cylinder. Yesterday, we found the surface area of a pyramid and cone. Today, we're finding the volume of a prism and a cylinder. And tomorrow, or we should say Friday, because we're going to spend tomorrow reviewing. Friday, we're going to do the volume of a pyramid and cone. So today, Cavaliere's principle. Cavaliere's principle. Any two objects with the same height and base, same height and base area will have the same volume. Does not have to be the same shape. That's what that says under there. Does not have to be the same shape. Cavaliere's principle. I'm going to pause. Let's copy that. So if these two objects here had a base that looked like this, and we knew that, let's say this had an area of 12 square miles. Let's change to a pen you can read. And this one had an area of 12 square miles. All right? And then we I made them kind of big. we fenced them in with this 10-foot fence all the way around and filled it full of water to be some gigantic pool. Okay? They would both have exactly the same volume. That's what Cavaliere is saying. If their height is the same and they have the same base area, they have to have the same volume. It doesn't matter what shape it is. I really picked some poor units there. That 12 square mile base area for a pool would be pretty big. You might call it a gigantic lake. Anyway, they'd have the same volume. Okay? So if we move on, we'll use this concept to find the volume formula for a prism and a cylinder. It's the base area times the height. Again, capital B stands for base area, not just lackadaisical base. It's not the length of a side, it is the area of the base, whatever shape the base is. Now what makes this lesson difficult is not that formula. That's probably the simplest formula you've had. What makes it difficult is how do you find the base area? Well, if it's a square, it's the length of a side squared, right? If the base is a triangle, how do we find the area? What are you saying, Dewey?
1/2 base times height.
1/2 base times height, that's correct. What if it's a trapezoid? What's the base area? Yeah, something with base 1, base 2. Can someone add to that? Half. There's a half in there.
1/2 height times 2 bases.
Yeah, 1/2 the height times the sum of the bases. He said times 2 bases. He meant add them together. Okay? So, how do you find the area if it's a circle? Pi r squared. What if it's a regular hexagon? So we've had 2 lessons dedicated to this.
Half A times B.
Yeah, 1/2 AP. Okay? So here's the problem. You have to first identify what's the base, then you have to find the area. And sometimes you have to use a little trick. Sometimes you use 30, 60, 90 triangles. Sometimes you use 45, 45, 90 triangles. All right? key is find the area of the base. Now if I'm looking at this regular hexagon, and let's say I just for a minute I go, I have no idea how to find the area of that. Then simplify it. Go to this. Can you find the area of that triangle? Yeah, if you know how long this base is, right? And if you know the height, right? Or, let's look at the top one. What if I know the radius? Then I would know this one here also, right? What's the angle in between here going to be?
Whatever 360 divided by 6 is.
Yeah, because if I drew them all in, there'd be 6 of those, right? So 360 divided 6 would be 60. And then we had a formula that said the area of a triangle, given 2 sides and the angle between them, right, is 1/2 AB sine C. Remember that formula? Okay, well, that's the problem, isn't it? We've got a lot to remember to work this out. The concept is simple. Find the area of the base, times it by the height, you have the volume. The tough part is all the different shapes of the bases and making sure you remember how to find the area of them. Okay? But anyway, to finish this thought, if I found the area of that one triangle, I could times it by 6, right? Because there's 6 of them exactly the same. So you don't have to use the formula they give you. You just have to find the area. All right? Whatever works best for you. Break it up into pieces. Find it that way. I don't care. And so make sure you understand capital B stands for base area. Okay? And H stands for height of the prism or cylinder. That gets confusing. The height gets confusing because when you're looking for the area of the base, sometimes you have a side called the height of that base, don't you? Then you have a side called the base of that base. And so we're using height and base 2 different ways. Make sure you understand what you're looking at. This H in this formula right here stands for the height of the prism or the cylinder. The height of the prism or cylinder. Okay? Make sure you understand what it stands for. Now, because there's so much reviewing here, you might want to take a sheet of paper out and copy down all the area formulas you've learned, and maybe draw a picture next to it so you can identify what letters go to, okay? What the letters represent, I should say. And then you'll have it all in one place. If you do a really neat job on that, and you only put formulas on there, you don't put examples with it, and you just put pictures and identify what things stand for, but you don't, again, throw numbers in and do practice problems on it, then I'll let you use that on the test. Because there's a lot of formulas to remember here. Okay? Any questions on what I'm saying you can use on the test? All right. Here we have an example, Superman's lunchbox. We want to find the volume of his lunchbox. He's a hungry man. He's going to fill it right up. He's going to fill the lid up and everything. Okay? Not quite sure what that dot is on the end of his box.
It's the lap.
I don't know. Maybe Mrs. Superman fixed his lunch and he burned a hole in it trying to see what he had in his lunch without opening it. That could be it. Maybe that's it. So anyway, here's Superman's lunchbox. We want to find the volume of this. First of all, we have to identify what's special about this. What looks tricky about this situation?
It has multiple shapes.
Yeah, multiple shapes. What's one of them?
Rectangular prism.
A rectangular prism. Nice. Perfect words for that. What's the other shape? Half of a cylinder. Perfect. identified as a cylinder, but it's only half the cylinder. Okay? Picture's not perfect, but I did intend that to be half a cylinder. So if I drew the radius in here, how long would that be? Three. Nice, Jason. Why is it 3? Yeah, it's half of 6. He's saying it's half of this side, which is the same as this side, right? And so that side represents the diameter of this, even though it's not drawn well. It's the diameter of that circle. And so a half of that, the radius then, would be 3. Okay? So, we're going to find the volume of the prism. We're going to add to it the volume, I should say half the volume of the cylinder. Right? And so volume of a prism is base area times the height. How do I find the area of the base? Okay. And remember the rule we used? If it's in a rectangular prism, its base is always what? No. What do we say about the base? Because couldn't I take this rectangular prism okay? We'll pretend that's not a square on the end. We'll just pretend it's a rectangle. And couldn't I lay that like this, or like this, or like this, right?
Well, the base is what's on the bottom.
Yeah, we agreed when we first talked about rectangular prisms that the base would always be the side it's sitting on. Because they'll ask you questions like, what is the lateral area of that prism? And what is the base area of that prism? And what is the surface area of that prism? And we could look at them all, and by the definition of the base, struggle to understand which one's which. Many people might look at this and say, this is the base. Why do you think they might assume that's the base?
Because it's a square.
No, it's a rectangle. But
Because it's
did
not.
someone say something here other than? Did you say something?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't this the base of the cylinder?
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it's if we stood it up on edge, I mean up on its base, that would be the base. This would be the lateral side. So it would be real difficult to think of this as this being the base. And the reality is, if we're doing base area, it doesn't matter. But if we have to find lateral area or surface area, okay, then the lateral area will change depending on what you choose as the base. So with agreement, we all said, I said to you, let's all agree that we will always use this side that it's sitting on as the base, okay? And so Caleb said the base is 6 by 10, which is 60, I think.
Oh.
And so volume of the prism is equal to 60 times the height of the prism, which is 7. And so the volume of the prism is 420 square inches. Okay? Now the cylinder is base area. How do you find area of a cylinder? How do you find area of a circle? By r squared, and r is
3.
and the height of that is
10.
10. The height of this cylinder is this length right here, so it's 10. And so we get 90 pi equals the volume of the cylinder. So if we go back to this, we we said 420 plus half of 90 pi. So if they said find the exact value or leave it in terms of pi, we would say 420 plus 45 pi inches squared. If they said round to the 10th, we just plug that in our calculator. 420 plus 45 times pi equals, and we round it off. What'd you get, Leah?
My calculator doesn't put it.
Get what?
Doesn't put it.
No, I want the rounded off value.
561.
561 point 4. That'd be inches squared also. Oh, cubed, I'm sorry. Volume, not area, so the units have to be cubed. Sorry about that. Glad we caught that. Glad you corrected me on that. Yeah. You guys should have been correcting me on that. I see I wrote it here too. Okay? Any questions on that example?
Are they all that long?
Well, they don't all have two parts to them, but sometimes it'll be harder to find the area of the base. Okay? All right, I think that's all the examples I had for you. Yep. And reminder that here's your assignment, 1 through 19 odd. So you have 10 problems. Plus, I'm guessing all of you have something to finish from yesterday because that was a little longer. So let's do something differently today, boys. Let's work, not waste time. What time is it, Alex? 8:28. So you've got more than a half hour to get a good start on this.